Welcome to the Vector Garden. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to produce this liquid-looking kind of text. First, you might think, well, this is a job for Photoshop, this looks blurred, and then we can do that. Let's first take a look how you can do that in Photoshop. And also, of course, you might be afraid that you do not nail it on first try. So, of course, we want this to be editable, to be able to change the font, to be able to change the text, the amount of blur, and also, of course, the levels that we apply. Here is the result in Photoshop, but we're going to create this. I have already created the text objects. This is just live text. Let's arrange them. And then I'm going to open the Layers panel. And you see in here we have both those text layers. Let's enlarge them. And now I'm going to group them. I'm going to use the shortcut, which is Command G or Control G on Windows. And then with a right click on this group, you can make this into a smart object, which is necessary if you want to apply smart filters to it. So let's go to the filters and apply some blur to this. I'm going to use Gaussian blur. And there, okay, we can just start with that. This looks nice, but of course you can also adjust it. The text needs to be still legible, but it needs to just flow so that it touches. Now, in order to make a hard edge around this, you can use curves or you can use levels, but of course use them as an adjustment layer. And let's use levels. And with the levels, you would need to have this one higher and this one, of course, lower, and then move that one so that you get this kind of hard edge around it. Like this, perhaps. So now what you can do in order to get this into a vector shape, you can copy that and paste it back into Illustrator and use image trace on it. And of course, you can use the magic wand in Photoshop and just click on it. I have turned off the contiguous and have set up a rather high tolerance. And then we've got this and can go to the paths window, which is down here, and make this into a work path like that. And then you have a path that you can then export to Illustrator. This is still fully editable. So if you do not like the text, let's turn off this path, then you can go back into that smart object with a double click and change the text. And if the blur is too much or too little, then you can edit the blur in here by also double clicking it and then adjusting it. And you can, of course, edit the levels. So everything is editable. The nice thing is you don't even need Photoshop. This thing can be done in Illustrator. Let's take a look at that. I've got a new file here and I have already prepared the text. Let's go to the Pathfinder panel. And let's turn this into a compound shape by alt-clicking this button. And then we can use the Appearance panel. And in the Appearance panel, let's go to the Fill. And let's go to Effect, Path, and Offset Path. Set this to round. I'm going to apply a slightly lower value because we need to keep the counters. And then apply Effect, Pathfinder, Add, and then Effect, Path, Offset Path. And of course, if you have seen some tutorials lately, then you recognize this. So this is, of course, the Metabolts effect, and this is a typical use case for this Metabolts thing. We can double click that, edit the text, change the font, whatever you want to do. But even if you want to go the actual blur route, then you can do that as well. What you can then do, let's take this text here for that. You can apply, let's first group it, blur in Illustrator, like this. And then let's make a copy. You can rasterize this, and then you can use image trace on that. This will probably give you worse results than in Photoshop, but it's possible. You can turn this to black and white and then use the threshold to get your trace and to get it darker or lighter if you wish so. But in this case, we need it darker. Let's ignore the color here, and then you can expand it and you have this image trace liquified text.